It's been great journey, being able to develop a solo career because of the people that helped me do it, including Bela Fleck. That's how Bela Fleck and the Flecktones came about. Bela had been with a band called the Newgrass Revival for many years. They were a bluegrass band that took bluegrass in a different direction, playing Beatles tunes and and Bob Marley and Hendrix tunes and all this rock tunes with bluegrass instruments. So that band was called the Newgrass Revival. They took bluegrass and made it new. Well, then Bela wanted to do his own music. And so that's where Bela Fleck and the Flecktones came about. So because Bela had done it, he knew how to do it, and he was very supportive of it. It didn't mean that the band had to break up for me to make my own records, or for Howard or my brother Future Man or any of us to do our own thing. Bela was very, very supportive, and he became a mentor and an elder to me to help me know how to do it in the proper way. So it's been a great, great journey. And then the fans supported me also. And I don't even have this career without you all. So I thank you. I'd play bass without you all anyway. But I don't have a career as a musician without you. So I'm indebted to all of you.
Your fans will be able to see you in Lexington at WoodSongs Old-Time Radio Hour. So what can people expect for your show? In addition to making music, you'll also be reading from your new book, The Spirit of Music.
Yeah, I will read it. You know, I think people should expect to be a part of the show.
Life is my favorite wonder, comforting as the sun. Nature's my favorite mother, nurturing everyone. Yes is my favorite color, free is my favorite bird.
And this all came about because I was up in that area not long ago at an outdoor. It was actually my first show in a year and a half. My first show during the pandemic. I played it by myself, just solo, and we had such a good time. We decided to take it to the WoodSongs stage. But what I plan on doing is what I did in this outdoor show. Is I include people into the show. I ask questions. I let them ask me questions. Give them things to think about, not just songs to listen to. In other words, I want us all to leave that room better people, because we challenged ourselves. We thought about things. You know, music is one of these things, if not the biggest thing in our lives, that brings people together. And it brings different people together and makes us unify and forget about our differences for an hour or two. Because if you think about it in music, we realize that the band is best when all the instruments are different. You know, we could have a band full of flutes and it'd sound good, but it's better if we mix up the instruments. So music allows us to recognize and celebrate our differences. And because of that, the audience does the same thing. So we're all there together, you know, and I don't care who you voted for, who you pray to, how much money you have, the color of your skin. Music just brings us together. And I love that, right? So in pointing that out, in recognizing what music's doing, and more than what music's doing, what we're agreeing to do, my thought is that if we can do it in this building for a couple of hours, we can continue once we leave.
You'll be sharing with the audience your new book, The Spirit of Music. What inspired this book?
This book, The Spirit of Music, is a sequel to my first book that's called The Music Lesson. And the music lesson first came from teaching music. When I started teaching in the early 90s, having researched what other teachers were teaching, because I never taught anything, Jennifer, I wasn't a teacher, but people were asking because my playing style was so different. I decided to teach what most people weren't teaching. And what I was seeing is that everyone was teaching good things, but most of it, 90% of it, could be categorized as notes, meaning we teach scales and chords and things like that, and it all deals with 12 notes. But when I bought my bass guitar, the notes came with it. You can buy the notes. So why does every bass player or every musician who's using all the same notes, the same way when we speak, we're using the same words, how do we all sound different? It means it's something else beside the notes or besides the words we're using. There's tone, inflections, rest, articulation. And so I started teaching those things. And people they weren't used to that. So they said, hey, you got to write a book. I said, no way. I don't want a Wooten method. I don't want to tell somebody what to do. I like pointing in directions, let you choose. But anyway, that book, I ended up writing a book based on those lessons, but I put those lessons into a story. It really went well. People were enjoying it. But you can really only get so much in a book, and I knew I had more to say. And so many years later, the Spirit of Music came about to continue the story about, okay, now the first book gave you the courage to play music. Now, why do we play music? Right? And so we look at that, and we look at the fact that music is kind of, well, I'll just tell it to you from the story standpoint. Music is dying. And what can we do to save her? So it's a continuation.
Do you have a favorite passage from the Spirit of Music that you could share with us?
I can share, yes. It's hard to find a favorite. It really is. But I will say some of this is part of my favorite because this part I'm going to share with you right now is just a quick selection of some of the wisdom that I gained from my parents. So in this little section, you'll hear my mom and my dad speaking. And they're talking about courage and fear. In this part of the book, they are encouraging me to teach music, to find a student. Music has been trying to speak to me. In other words, my character is hearing, like, in other words, the microwave will go off, and my character, which is kind of like me, I'll just know that was a C. Never knew it before. I'll just hear my alarm clock and say, why is this out of tune G waking me up, And so I realize music is calling me, but I'm reluctant. And so I go to speak to my parents to kind of, hopefully they will help me ease this discomfort. My parents, who always know what's going on, realize that I'm fearful of something. And so they're talking to me about fear. So I'll read just a little bit. My mom says, life is always on your side, baby boy. And she's talking about me, finding a student. She says, when your goal is to truthfully help someone, you will be given the opportunity to do so. Their truth will be opened up to you, and you will know exactly what to do with it. It saddens me that some people, especially teachers, will take advantage and undermine a person's truth just to replace it with their own. But you're not that kind of teacher. I know you're not. She smiled. I sat up straight. Your intention is to expand, not to diminish. Because of that, you will see into that young boy's truth. That's how it works. The more people you intend to help, the more truth you will see. She sat back in her chair and grabbed Dad's hand. So at this point in the book, I had found a young student by accident. Didn't know he was going to be a student, but I wound up in this young boy's house. He had a bass, and we started, but I was afraid to go back the next day. So they're giving me courage. And my dad says, what I'm hearing is foolishness. You're just scared, that's all. But my dad says, understand this, son. Fear just means that you're about to grow. So recognize your fear and keep charging. He leaned forward, his face serious. In the military, we like fear, like pain. It let us know we're still alive. He raised his hand in front of his face and looked at them from front to back. He says, fear is always ahead of us, reminding us that we have time to prepare. You see, we don't fear what's happening. We only fear what might happen. I know you're afraid of disappointing that boy, but that boy ain't here right now, is he? So take this time to prepare. Come up with a lesson for him. You already started. Just continue with it, but don't leave nothing undone. So they're basically having me face my fear. My mom's making sure that my intentions are right. My mom had a quote that said, treat life right and life will treat you right. So mom is always about do the right thing, be who you are. And my dad from the military, who had to face a lot of fear, is helping me understand that we only fear things that might happen. Fear is proof that what you fear hasn't happened yet.